Hello, everybody. It's once again the Third Stage Astrology channel with Taina, Ketola, and Katya Slivinskaya. And today we are talking about the Aquarius North Node with Sun in Leo. And we're doing a lot of our node-Sun combinations by request. And this one was requested by Candace Castro, who has Sun in Leo and North Node in Aquarius. Now, North Node and South Node are these important points in an astrological chart that have to do with what is our positive future spiritual direction in life. That's indicated by the North Node. The South Node indicates our past life karma, our past tendencies, the things that pull us down or pull us backwards, and sometimes some gifts that we have from previous lifetimes' experiences. So because of the philosophy of third stage astrology is that we stay the same sun sign for a long series of lifetimes and go through 3 stages of that sign, each stage lasting for 3 or 4 lifetimes. The nodes line up very well with the stages of the sign because the nodes are also talking about where we were in previous lifetimes and where we need to go to really actualize ourselves. So we can get a lot of information, but fine-tunes our process of development through the 3 stages by looking at these moon's nodes points. Now, Leo is the joyful leader, is a phrase that I use for Leo. And first stage Leo people are born into situations where they're given a tremendous amount. They're given all kinds of bounty. They're given help and opportunities that help them really strengthen themselves and expand their perspective and their point of view. And they have a lot of gratitude towards their people and towards their society. And because they have that gratitude and because it's given them a real practical sense of knowledge and a practical sense of foresight, it is their desire to give back to their society. And because some Leos actually are physically taller than everybody else, but they're definitely metaphorically head and shoulders above everyone else because they can see in a very practical way the things that are coming, the trends that are coming, and they are the people who will see problems in society before anybody else sees them. So I always tend to think of Leo as being, out in this desert community somewhere, and they are the ones who see that little cloud of dust on the far horizon, which is an invading army. And they are the ones who say, look, everybody, we have to mobilize the women and the children. We have to get out of here. Here's how we have to handle the situation. And sometimes people look at them and go, what, are you crazy? I don't want to move right now. So Leos have a lot of responsibility in their first stage lifetimes. And most signs in first stage are not so focused on responsibility. It's a big thing for the person to carry around. They have to walk a fine line between conforming and not conforming, because if you're too different from everybody else, nobody will listen to you, nobody will follow you. If you're too much the same as everybody else, you'll lose your vision. So they're under this stress about how they're going to be, how they're going to act, how they're going to be around people, and they have to really keep their own counsel. And move, in order to take things forward. Now, a first stage Leo with an Aquarius North Node and a Leo South Node, what might that indicate?
Oof. That's interesting. So first stage Leo, we just talked about it, and the Aquarius North Node is actually about becoming more like stepping down off of the throne and becoming more one of the people, right? And becoming one of many. That's the phrase that I think of.
And it's also about being inspired by the very concept of the people, to know that all the work that you do is for the people. That's with me would be the real motivator for the first stage Leo.
Yes, right. Because the Aquarius North Node is very much about being in service to humanity.
Yeah.
So that it sounds like we're talking about the motivation at the heart.
Yes.
That's driving the Leo in first stage.
Yeah, and I think a first stage Leo, even though usually the nodes marry in third stage, I think in the early part of first stage Leo, these two are actually working together a lot. Because I know we just first request for North Node in Aquarius, we just made that video, which is Sun in Sagittarius with the North Node in Aquarius, and you were talking about how the South Node in Leo is all about the heart. Coming from this, this place. And it's my heart is with my people.
Yes, my heart is with my
It's
people.
what that union of the south node and the north node expresses in first stage. And so it's only as first stage becomes more difficult that the nodes will separate out more.
Mm,
And because the person's old original urge was to be the leader. That's what causes the incarnation into first stage Leo. You're wanting to lead the people. What drives things forward is the Aquarius North Node, which is the people. We're doing this for the sake of the people. And a first
yes.
stage Leo, to balance themselves, would remember, I'm doing this for the sake of the people, so I can't get too high and mighty. I can't get too distanced from them. And I can't get too dogmatic. I have to be more people friendly so that they
Yes.
will follow me more.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. And in the early part of first stage with Leo, they actually have a tremendous amount of success.
Yes, they do.
They're actually accomplishing things that are very impressive.
Yes, it's very true.
And
Which
yeah.
becomes their Achilles heel after a while. Because it's so natural for humans as they develop to keep on growing and expanding and doing more, developing more strengths, uh, having more challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And because Leo is future oriented anyway, Leo's focus so many times is about what's the next step, that next phase of what we're going to be doing or seeing, where we're going next.
Mm.
There's a strongly future oriented quality to Leo, although in third stage it's about being in the moment becomes more important.
Yes.
But for many lifetimes it's about the future. There is this I kind of lost what I was saying, but there is this, this drive forward and you want to see what's going on for the sake of the people and from that leadership role. And I know what I'm saying, because they're future oriented, again, they're trying to make it better in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And so in first stage, each lifetime, there's a bigger challenge being taken on.
Yes.
So it's at first you lead the little village out of the way of the invaders, but you finally find yourself sooner or later in a position where you have to save the entire world all by yourself.
Yes.
That's
Right.
what happens at the end of first stage Leo. So each lifetime, a bigger savior mission, a bigger accomplishment for the sake of the people, the greater armies that you lead for a higher mission and a higher purpose. Yes, it is reminding me of something that I experienced with Candace, because she has been a friend and a client for many, many years. And she did have previous lifetimes as a real military commander in a lot of lifetimes. And I actually have the memory of having been a spirit guide of hers in some of those situations, of watching her not from a non-physical level in between lifetimes.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
You two go way back.
Yeah, we really do. So those are the first stage Leo lifetimes.
Yeah.
And what happens at the end of first stage Leo is they try to do the impossible. And not only do they try to do the impossible, but they believe that they must do the impossible. And so with the South Node in Leo, I've always been a leader. I must be a leader. I must be a leader, and I must not fail.
Yes. And the Leo South Node really believes that everything is riding on their will. Everything is riding on the force of their will.
Yes,
and
true.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like, I must not let go of like this constantly driving their own will, constantly, manipulating it to be bigger and bigger. And, to the point where at some point we're limited. We're still just human.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like it can cause an immense amount of frustration.
Yes. And tension and stress that gets carried around in the body. Yes. And that phrase I said, that I've always been a leader, I must be a leader. It's something that's an echo thing that carries through lifetimes, way past this first, second stage trauma place. Meanwhile, North Node, suddenly by the time we get to the end of first stage, they've almost married each other in a negative way. North Node says, for the sake of the people, I cannot let the people down. So they both can tumble over the cliff into second stage really, really easily.
Yes. Right. It's almost like that for the sake of the people gets kind of usurped or distorted.
Yeah, or it becomes tyrannical. That for the sake of the people tyrannizes the individual.
Yeah.
No matter what's going to happen to you, doesn't matter. You got to do this for the people. You've got to somehow find a way.
Mm.
And you feel so terrible about yourself if you were not able to find a way.
Right.
Now, everybody at the end of first stage is at the crossroads. They have an opportunity to go towards third stage. And this one doesn't feel like it has a lot of options, but there's always options. And the option with the Aquarius North Node is that tiny little voice that says, you don't have to do this by yourself.
Yeah.
You don't have to do this all alone. You are not the only one here who will save the world.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. The Aquarius North Node, I always think about it as like a colony, like of ants, and everyone's just working together in this beautiful harmony, and everyone gets to be themselves, but everyone also has a role in the whole. And
Yes.
and the balance of that creates, like, many hands make light work. I mean, we all know this platitude, but it's so true. And that has this immense potential to relieve the stress and all of the pressure that the Leo sun person
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And the Leo at that crossroads point, when the world really looks like it's completely falling apart, this big mission is failing or about to fail, they must not hide themselves in their tent and do further strategizing if they don't want to make it into second stage. That's when they go, let those helpers in.
Yes. Yeah, become one of the many, which must be so counterintuitive at that point, right? When you've been feeling that it's your responsibility to stand head and shoulders above everybody else.
Yes.
To actually like become one of the many and see that there's actually, that's the key. At the end of, at that crossroads, it always seems like, I don't know if this is true for every sign because I'm not thinking through all of them right now, but there's this almost counterintuitive choice, or like a
true.
Right,
many times there really is. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, almost. And you can feel, this feels like the right thing, but my God, it's so opposite to everything I've always believed in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if they don't make it through the crossroads into third stage, they go down into second stage. The second stage Leo, especially if they're starting into a new lifetime in early second stage Leo, now it's all about the fact that they did fail in the past. And at least that's how it looked to them. It did look like a very big mess. Yeah. And Leo fragments when it goes into second stage. There are many, many different types of second stage Leo. There are second stage Leos who can't get the balance between conformity and non-conformity anymore. So some are, I have to conform, and they become extreme conformists because I won't survive if I don't. Everything will fall apart if I don't. I'm no longer a strong leader, so I have to just somehow make sure I'm in my little cubicle and not making too much noise, and upholding the values, no matter how constrictive they might be. Others will go in the other direction and say, I'm just going to be an extreme nonconformist. I'm just angry at everybody and I'm rebelling against everything. I'm really being myself. But neither of these are they're just not fulfilling, but they don't know any other way to do things. Some Leos, because they want to still help the people, they become overly giving, overly generous. They just let themselves be an absolute doormat. They're so out there rescuing people one-on-one, one person at a time. They will burn themselves out. Leo is the number one burnout sign of the zodiac, because still there's that idea, I let the people down, now I'm just going to rescue them one-on-one, one by one. Whoever I can help, it's not going to be enough, but I have to do it no matter what.
Yeah, it's like the self-sacrificing just goes through the roof. Yeah.
That's true.
And extremes, right? I mean, you mentioned extremes of conformity and non-conformity. I really think of second stage Leo as extremes of all kinds.
It's true. Because then there's the other type that the one who gives and gives and gives. I've nicknamed the kitchen soup sweetie. And then there's the other type, which is the glory hound. I have to be famous. I have to be important. I have to have the trap success. I have to look like the big, special, important, amazing person. I have to get the accolades, because they did get accolades every time they did something really special before. And it wasn't the most important thing to them then. But now well, they blew it before, but they want that now because it will compensate for things.
Yeah, at least I can get the
They're
accolades.
very heartless in searching for the success and all these outer trappings of success. So they're really counterbalanced to the kitchen soup sweetie.
Definitely.
And then there's the nihilistic Leo, and everything's hopeless and worthless and dark. Everything is black and bleak, and they're somewhat similar to the lazy lion, called it, who just can't do anything. What's the point?
Yes, what's the point?
They're just find some place to lie in the sun and drink my pina colada, and hopefully no one will notice that I'm not really doing anything because I can't anyway. What's the point? Because they don't feel, second stage Leo does not feel worthy unless they've done another bigger thing that they know is not possible to do. It's already proven. Nowhere to go. Can't keep getting better. What's the point? Yeah, so with the nodal combination, this is where the South Node is really saying, this whole Leo pattern sucks for you. You can't keep doing this. Wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it seems to resonate with a few of those types that you mentioned.
Yes, true.
Right? I mean, I could really not, and another thing with this is that an individual soul does not necessarily stick with one type throughout the second stage. They can try them all on. They can try on a few. And, right. But there's a particular resonance, it seems, with the glory hound, right? Or with the lazy lion. I'm just thinking of a story because, I'm just going to be transparent that both of my kids have Leo South Node.
Yes.
And I have two really...
I have a child who has a Leo South Node too.
Okay. So may I tell two little stories?
Oh, yeah, sure, if they don't mind.
I think they're, not yet at least. Maybe when they're older. But so my daughter has a Leo South Node. She was having a play date and I had made some hummus that she liked. So they were in the hot tub. They're going into the shower. They have, their towels. And she goes, "Hey, Mom, can you bring me some hummus while I'm in the shower?" I mean, my partner and I just looked at each other. We're like, what? Like, you want to be served? Like, you want to be served your hummus while you're in the shower? Like, yes, Your Royal Highness, just, but to her, that wasn't anything unusual.
Right, of course. Arabian princess before.
Exactly. And then my son, it's a really similar story. Like, he had to take his breakfast in the car because we were, on our way somewhere. We had to rush, and he had hard-boiled eggs. And I'm driving the car, and he asked me, he's like, "Can you peel my hard-boiled egg?"
Yes. Well, actually, Isabel, who is my other astrology student, we've made a couple of videos with, she also has the Aquarius North Node and Leo South Node.
Okay.
And her thing is, I don't stand in line.
Okay.
That's the commoners. They stand in line. I never stand in line.
And you can see it, yeah.
So it's not giving up that pride of position.
Right. And it can be very awkward almost in second stage because it's like this remnant from the past, but it's not aligning with the level of self-confidence, like true self-confidence in this life. And it's not aligning with the rest of the life.
Yeah. Or sometimes it can, but sometimes it really could clash and not seem to make sense. Being this old piece of us. Yeah, so the Leo North Node, the Aquarius North Node, when in second stage Leo, it feels like for many of them, while they're really thick in second stage, it's like this beautiful beacon off in the distance. And gee, wouldn't it be nice if that were somehow possible? But it's like almost like a fantasy world, and I can't quite reach. Except for Kitchen Soup Sweetie might end up feeling like I can really give to the people. And there could be that compulsive giving to the people, even if it's not pure Kitchen Soup Sweetie. When a second stage Leo with an Aquarius North Node gets into that giving mode, it may be just, they'll just give their entire heart and soul and every piece of them away, because they have to be the leader for the sake of the people. And it seems so impossible to help them. I got to make sure I do it. And it's almost this quiet longing that I wish I could be with them, could be part of them. I'll give them my heart. I'll here, take it. I'm not using it. Even if I can't survive without it, it's yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
that makes sense.
They could retreat back into this, that sort of isolated palace or the isolated tent, which is where they've had to live for so long.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's that kind of, there are both sides to it, right? There's the sort of like, the commoners, and I'm, I must be served. And then there's the side of it that's like still coming from a place of being separate, of being isolated. And yet it's from that place of, really, I mean, it is kind of, there's a beautiful leadership quality there, but it's giving away the golden goose, so to speak. Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So as we get to the end of second stage, all of these second stage traits are so constrictive, no matter what sign we're in. It just can't survive anymore with the kinds of extreme stresses, the isolation, the challenge to one's self-esteem. Even if a person has become a successful glory hound and gotten a lot of attention, it's still it's empty. They feel like a fraud because they haven't really done anything of value.
Yes.
And if they've conformed too much, because that's another thing I think can go with this, because the Aquarius says be an individual, the Leo says there are certain ways to do things in life. That's very rigid. It feels there's that Sun in Leo is a fixed sign. These are all fixed signs. Yes. And when you get into that south node, you get into a rigidity in the body, like the rigidity that the person acquired through all that stress in first stage. And the rigidity feels like it's going to strangle you. I have to get out of here.
I think I'm going to sneeze, but I'm not. Okay.
Okay. That's good. So in second, third stage, Leo, every sign, really, there are all these little riddles that have to be resolved. And for Leo, the riddle is about what makes you worthy of love. So throughout first stage Leo, the person slowly learns that people only are happy with me when I achieve something big for the people. And I have to keep achieving bigger and bigger things, or I'm worthless. Nobody wants me. Nobody loves me. So Leos have a very strong concept of conditional self-love. They might be able to love other people unconditionally, but they themselves expect for themselves that I'm only going to be loved if I jump through big, giant hoops. And if I don't jump through big, giant hoops, I'm not going to be worth anything.
Yes.
And that's all backwards and inside out. So Leos have to learn to stop having their value be based on proving themselves or any kind of external accomplishment, externalizing proof of their value. They have to discover their innate, inherent value as a being. They also need to balance out the male and female polarities within themselves, because with Leo, the father, actually for all of us, the father principle on a subconscious level is the principle of self-actualization. The father is the one who stands on the other side of the room while the mother holds the baby and the baby takes its first steps toward the father. The father's job is to say, you're doing a wonderful job. In order to have the confidence to go out and take those first steps, the mother principle's role is to hold the child in her arms, and the child can just completely relax, completely trust, be themselves. And the mother says, you're perfect just the way that you are.
Yes.
So what happens on a subconscious level for Leos in second stage is that these parental figures, either in the actual parental roles, which is quite common, but not always, but always in the subconscious internal male and female principles within the person, the father archetype says, you better not fall. And Leo looks around and there's no mother there.
There's no mother there.
No mother there. There's no mother support.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
No unconditional love support. It always reminds me of Madonna and her loss of her mother and everything. She's Leo.
Mm.
Your mother at a very early age, and that's very, excruciating for anybody, but for the Leo, it's such a living symbol of what second stage Leos go through.
Yes.
At any rate, what Leos do in second, third stage is they transform these internal male and female principles within themselves, and they turn towards that feminine principle and that feminine subconscious that allows them to be just perfect, just the way that they are.
Yes.
And when they start to go inside of themselves, receive this unconditional divine love that is there for them from themselves and from the infinite beingness itself, from infinite intelligence, from the divine mother, they stop being so accomplishment oriented and
Yes.
stressed out, and they
Yes.
start to relax and enjoy and live in the moment. And so when I think about, for Leo, what an Aquarius North Node is about the most important spiritual path you can take in this lifetime is to go play with your friends.
Yes. Yes. Oh, totally. There's the, it's interesting. What was I going to say? There's also, as you're talking, I'm reminded that one of the dichotomies, or you were talking about balancing the mother and father principle. Another piece that I think of with balancing that you're speaking to is doing and being.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? That actually, like, being, they may have never, this may feel very like a very foreign concept to somebody who's doing their Leo work, right? Or working through second, third stage, but that being could be enough. Like, just by being.
Oh, absolutely. Being is more than enough. Being is the doorway to thy cup runneth over.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Joy.
Yes. Yeah. And just like you said, I mean, I imagine, like Aquarius North Node, one of the images I have it for it is like a play yard.
Yeah.
Like a school play yard, and all the children are equal.
Yes. Yes.
Aquarius is a sign of equality.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can,
they're all equal, but they're all really unique.
They're all so unique.
The love of the individuality, the expression of individuality.
Absolutely.
And the delight in it. Because that's also, third stage Leo is about being in the joy of the moment and being in love with yourself. And a third stage Leo with a North Node in Aquarius is also going to be delighting in the individuality of everybody else. Wow, you are so cool and amazing. I'm so cool and amazing. This is awesome.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's really like, if you think of like the best friendship you can have,
yes,
and how much reverence for each other's uniqueness there is, and delight in your own uniqueness, their uniqueness, and also just the equality there too. Like, there's no competition. You just, you delight in the beautiful, radiant expression of each of you as, as beings of light.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the Leo South Node is that, that Achilles heel of, you have to carry burdens, you have to become something of importance. That's the pressure, and that's that path of undoing that the person is moving away from. And if you have a South Node in the same sign as your Sun sign, you're moving away from the negative characteristics of any of the second stage traits. Yeah. So it's definitely, I would say, an indicator you want to get out of second stage in this lifetime.
Yeah. 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 And what we talked about in the last video, that that kind of moment of moving away from the Leo South Node into the Aquarius North Node can be, it was like that image of the king coming off of their throne.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Or the queen, whether they've been recognized for being on the throne or not, throughout second stage, but some part of the psyche remained there.
Yes, so true.
And right, and then that moment there can be such a hard letting go, because, like you said, we associated our self-worth with that position.
Yes, so true.
But then when that is actually let go of, and oftentimes that position is like, it necessitates
chains on that throne.
What's that?
Chains on that throne.
There's chains on that throne, exactly. And the moment that we actually do that detachment, there's so much liberation. It's like, yay, I can play with all my friends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it reminds me of the poor ruler who, when as they were a little kid, they didn't get to go outside and play with their friends.
Exactly.
They had an important role to play.
Exactly. Totally. So it's such a sign of liberation, or a possibility of liberation, that Aquarius North Node.
Oh, most definitely. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So when the person is in third stage, we have the nodes coming together again. And we have this pure, unconditional self-love of the South Node in Leo. And the recognition that no matter, I don't have to try to do anything, just by being, I am embodying a principle that leads everyone forward. It happens all by itself. It happens naturally. I can set it behind me because they'll follow, they'll be fine. And I can play with my friends, and all of humanity is my friends.
Yes. Yes.
Very, very nice.
Yeah. And like, just one little piece is what, the Aquarius North Node, all of humanity are my friends. It's a celebration of humanity.
It is, yes.
Right? And all the beautiful colors, all the beautiful expressions. Mm-hmm. And to be involved in that is just like,
yeah,
such fun, such delight.
Most definitely, most definitely. Mm-hmm. And one thing is that I think it's easy sometimes for people to think that just doing playful things in the moment is maybe a shallow thing, or not a very responsible thing, not really a very spiritual thing. But really, for Leos, the more you do that, the more of a tremendously, profoundly positive and powerful impact you have on the world. Mm-hmm. So it's more of a distorted frame of reference that our culture has had. The play and fun are not holy, when really they are. And third stage Leo is an expression of that principle.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So now what we've done too, if people know the house positions of their nodes, or if they know their exact time of birth, we could look it up for them if they want us to make a video for them. And that in this case, we're talking about what it's like to have the North Node in the 10th house and the South Node in the 4th house. Yep. Now, the 10th house has to do with one's role in society, has to do with your public expression, your goals. So the 4th house has to do with home and family, with the foundation of life. And so one thing I was saying before we started the video was that this node combination could be a little bit tricky to work out. Yes. Because just with the signs, it's pulling the person away from the negative traits of second stage Leo. But the challenge is that when you put the North Node in the 10th house, which is about your career and your role in society and accomplishing something.
Your mission, yes.
Mission, yeah. Yes. It suddenly, it very easily triggers those second stage traits again of, I have to do something. I have to be something. Yes. I have to be in that role. So it's almost trying to pull back towards that South Node.
Yeah.
And so it's very, very tricky, and it's important to really choose your role in society very carefully, and not to allow any kinds of goal-oriented stuff or career-oriented responsibilities, it shouldn't get heavy like that, to put pressure on you. It also implies that playing with your friends could be a way to have a public impact in some fun way, and or there could be a way to create some kind of career role out of that. But once again, when you do that, it's so, so important not to fall back on any of the negative second stage Leo traits. Do not take responsibility for any of those friends while you're involved in co-creative, career-oriented opportunities or situations. Don't let yourself carry all the heavy burdens. It's got to stay fun. The key word with Leo, it must be fun. Actually, I have a Leo friend, and that is his motto. If it's not fun, it's not worth doing. And he didn't know much about astrology before we met, but that was his motto. And I thought, well, I know you're a third stage Leo.
That's beautiful. Mm-hmm.
It's not fun. It's not worth doing. And then the South Node in the 4th house in Leo also talks really and re-emphasizes that retreative aspect. Yes. that,
Yeah.
you know, the king or the military leader or the queen in their palace, in their tent, again, making their plans, creating the order, hanging on tight to this secure foundation. It's got to withstand every possible conceivable impact, not just for me, but for the good of all my responsibilities. And the foundation's getting shaken all the time. And it's important to get away from that kind of heaviness and that kind of heavy responsibility and rigidity. And again, get out there in the sunshine where all the people are out in the public and play with your friends.
Yes.
Don't feel like you've got to hold on to things and hold it all together all by yourself in your little refuge.
I love that. The image I'm getting is almost like you can be at the top because the 10th house is at the very top of the zodiac wheel.
Yeah.
And so you can be at the top, but you can be there dancing.
Yes, exactly.
Right? You can be there playing.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And that shows everybody that we can all do that.
Exactly. Yes. And what a liberation that would be for everyone that gets to see, right? And another key piece about that third stage Leo is like, it's not doing what it's doing because others are looking.
Yes, exactly.
And it's not, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not doing what it's doing because it wants to demonstrate something or show something or teach something. It's doing what it's doing because it brings them joy. It's doing, it's just for the sake of it. It's like creative expression, play that just feels so good. And that's why you're doing it. Mm-hmm. And then naturally people are drawn, but that must never become the motivation, because the moment it does, we're being then pulled toward that Leo South node again, right?
Yes, it's true. It reminds me of a little funny thing with the with Isabel that I mentioned, who also has the same nodal positions in Sun. What happens to her, which I think is part of that North Node and Aquarius thing, is that if she goes into a store and the store is empty, within moments it fills up with people.
Oh.
Happens every time.
Wow.
She doesn't try to make people come. If anything, it's like, oh, go away. But
so she has that nodal combination. What is her sun?
Her sun is in Leo, and
her sun is in Leo. Oh, so she has the same.
Yes, the same sun and nodal combination. The nodes are in different houses.
Yes,
that is the same basic combination. But to put the North Node in the 10th house for a Leo, especially with the North Node in Aquarius, means that the real challenge, in a way, is to be yourself in public. Be joyfully yourself in public, and that is the thing more than anything else that will set you free.
Yes. That sounds like fun.
Yes, it does.
Have fun with that one.
Definitely.